Hey folks, I'm making this video tonight for the basic purpose of, experiencing with my new, MacBook Pro I bought last weekend. And somewhat of a bit challenging still, but I'm getting around to using, the MacBook again tonight, and, I just thought, it's Friday night. Don't have much time on my, spare time on my hands anymore, so I'm just gonna relax and, do one of my random videos and, to give me a sample, to process with, the new laptop. So I'm going to tell you all a true story. Okay, it goes like way back, of course. Dad, well, I'm not going to tell the story, but I'm just going to say Dad left my mom back in 1995. And of course, for a time, Mom was a single mom and all that. Working for the hospital public relations director and all that good stuff. And of course, all my sisters grew up and ended up relocating to Georgia. And of course I moved out when I was in my 20s, and so there were years that Mom lived by herself, and I think she took on some hobbies of maybe planting flowers and keeping her place spruced up, and also taking pictures, and she had some hobbies. Of course, her and Bruce have a big hobby of photography nowadays, but back when Mom was just single, not into it, she would basically get bored at home. And if you're familiar with Athens, Tennessee, where I live, there is some entertainment you can do in your time, but not all the entertainment is out here in Athens, Tennessee to, soothe one's desires. So Mom would get bored, and Mom had, well, a lot of acquaintances she knew in town. And of course, there's this one guy, this occurred way back when, way back in the day, but we used to have a county executive by the name of Ron Banks, and Mom ran into Ron Banks, and Mom and Ron Banks knew each other and had a conversation, and Mom was hoping that maybe it being that Ron Banks is county executive, that he could give her good advice about her boredom. So Mom asked Ron, hey, what is it there to do in the town of Athens, Tennessee? It's such a boring town, and it's there's really not a whole lot to do, and it's just basically a dull town and nothing to do but watch a movie. Just maybe a conversation similar to that, but she was just asking Ron Banks advice on what to do, on a lonely night to soothe her boredom. And Ron Banks' advice back was, hey, Chris, get you of course my mom's name is Chris, so Ron Banks said, hey, Chris, get you a lawn chair and find you a place by the railroad tracks, and set your lawn chair not far from the tracks, and just watch the trains go by. Yep, that's spot on with what, his advice was to, for Mom to get her a lawn chair, find her, a set of railroad tracks and, camp out near there and watch the trains go by. I mean, like, I know some people, are into the hobby of trains, but, it's just, if you're not really into trains all that much, I guess watching trains go by can get somewhat boring, but in another sense, that was kind of lame advice, because even if you do somewhat enjoy watching trains go by, how often does a train go by in your area? About maybe a few times a day. Of course, I think down in downtown Marietta, there's a train that goes by on the main tracks through town maybe once an hour or so. It's a heavily used track down there, but just in a small town like Athens or anywhere nearby, how often does a train go by? Maybe 1, 2, 3, or maybe 4 times a day. It's like I don't really, hear a train go by that often. Maybe once or so in the evening or something like that. So you got to, ponder, what are you gonna do in the meantime for that long extension when there is no trains going by? What are you gonna do? Just sit in your lawn chair and just feel bored? Of course you could just, find your location at the railroad tracks and, where there's beautiful mountain scenery in the background, and, for that long time frame that there's not a train going by, maybe you can have some beautiful mountain scenery to enjoy and focus on the mountain scenery and just feel amazed with mountain scenery and just, have a small supplement of, adrenaline rush of, a train going by, about once or so in the evening and all that stuff. And other than that, don't really see how Ron Banks' advice was all that good advice, because what I just explained, and so my sarcastic self will tell you, if you're feeling bored in your town, get you a lawn chair, set it by some railroad tracks, and watch the trains go by. Not pretty damn boring hobby, as I pretty much depicted, unless you absolutely love trains, and it's just kind of one of those niche fits and all that stuff. But of course, I like to reminisce in my old age, reminisce about, funny moments of the past. And here's an opportunity tonight, since, I'm pretty wore out after, a pretty busy week and all that stuff. But anyway, just thought I would kind of share this laugh at you of what the former county executive, which he actually was county executive at the time, gave Mom advice on to soothe her boredom, which was pretty lame. But anyway, it's I hope you all have a good night, and now let's get to, sampling this video on my laptop. Yeah.